It's now just less than 3 days to go before the polls open, and Labour have released hundreds of posters attacking the Conservatives and urging people to vote out the Tories or risk further damage to the NHS and the economy.
Well, throughout the campaign, we have been hearing from our People's Panel. Here's what they want to see from the politicians this week.
It's a bit childish. It's just like looking at kids arguing. They need to be focusing on what they should be doing, is focusing on what the country needs, not, you know, tit for tat between themselves.
I think they'd have to just do what they're going to say. I think quite often in politics is a lot of talk and a lot of inaction, or they'll promise one thing and do something else. I don't anticipate that changing, because it never really does.
Right, joining us now, Shadow Paymaster General Jonathan Ashworth. So you're on notice, Mr. Ashworth, from our People's Panel. No childish tit for tat, no promising things that you're not going to do, and no attacking the other party. I wonder if we can get through a whole political interview without that happening.
No chance.
Ed's expectations are low. The People's Panel's expectations are high. If, as the polls suggest, if you get into government on Thursday, what do we wake up to as a nation on Friday morning?
Well, you started your question there with if, and you're right to start your question there with if, because this is now, for the Man United fans out there, as Alex Ferguson would describe as squeaky bum time. You know, there are lots of people, lots of your viewers, still thinking about what to do, still weighing up the options. And I would say, if they do want change, if they do want a government that is going to focus on fixing those deep-rooted problems in the National Health Service, if they do want a government that's going to get our economy motoring so that living standards rise and we have good, well-paid jobs across the country, where we cut energy bills, where we recruit more teachers for our schools and deliver breakfast clubs every morning in primary schools, and where we help young people get on the housing ladder, then you've got to come out and vote Labour on Thursday.
OK.
Don't wake up to 5 more years of Rishi Sunak on Friday morning.
Resist.
Oh, I told you.
You could not resist. So Ed wins that particular bet. I want to ask about...
Got to be careful with betting in this election campaign, by the way.
Yeah.
Good point.
On all sides.
Good point.
I want to ask, then, about squeaky bum time for people who might think you haven't been entirely transparent on tax. Because there are people who are wondering whether it is true that you're not going to increase taxes for working people. And I want to ask you about the words of one of your colleagues, Darren Jones, on this programme on Friday.
Looking down at the camera for us, it's quite clear there will be, read my lips, no further tax rises under Labour. Is that right?
We've made the commitment. Yeah, we've made the commitment not to increase income tax, national insurance or VAT. All of our manifesto is fully funded and fully costed. There is no need to make changes to other taxes.
No need to make changes to other taxes. Could you promise our People's Panel that that's exactly what will happen? No need to make changes to any other taxes?
Look, we have been very careful to put forward a fully costed manifesto. The reason we've done that is because we think it's important when you seek election to only make promises you can keep.
OK.
Now, we have made some tough decisions on tax. For example, we're going to levy VAT on private school fees. Not everybody agrees with that.
Yeah, we know about that one. I want to ask you about one that we don't know about, and that is capital gains tax. Are you going to make changes to capital gains tax?
No, as Rachel Reeves and others have repeatedly said throughout this campaign, our tax plans are clear and our manifesto does not need further tax increases. We've made a commitment on income tax, on national insurance, VAT, and indeed corporation tax.
So you can make a commitment this morning to Good Morning Britain viewers. You will not make any changes to capital gains tax. You won't put it up, or you won't equalise it with income tax.
We don't need to be making these proposals because our manifesto is fully funded, it's fully costed, and that is very deliberate. I won't criticise the Conservatives because you've rightly told me not to do that, but I'll make a broader point. If you pursue a programme of unfunded tax commitments, that leads to more borrowing, which in turn puts pressure on the Bank of England to put up people's mortgage rates.
Yeah, but I'm talking about your plans, Jonathan Ashworth.
That's why our commitment manifesto is fully funded.
Fully funded, but just to point out, reliant on a certain amount of growth.
Absolutely, because we've had poor growth in this country.
OK, well, we've actually just had really good growth figures from the ONS. But if you don't get your growth as planned in the manifesto, would you then levy more wealth tax?
No, because ours is a manifesto for growth. And look, the figures that came out, these figures are relative, aren't they? Compare them to the last Labour government, where we had much better growth. And if we'd had the growth of the last Labour government these past 14 years, would have had more investment in our public services.
We're veering, of course, into tax on the opposition.
Can I just contrast what you're saying and what Darren Jones said? It's one thing to say there's nothing in our manifesto which requires tax increases beyond what you've said. It's one thing to say you've got no plans, but you don't know what's going to happen in the next Parliament. You don't know what will come along, what international threat, what will happen to growth. So when Darren Jones says no tax rises beyond what's in the manifesto, Mr Ashworth, that's not a sensible thing to say, isn't it? Can't you just kind of be a bit straight with us, that you don't know what's going to happen, but this is currently what you're hoping is going to happen?
Well, it's not about hoping, because we've got a detailed plan to grow the economy. We're going to pursue significant planning reforms. That means building more houses in this country and sorting out problems with our energy infrastructure. It means investing in renewable energy sources. Not only is that good for jobs, it will cut energy bills for good for your viewers. We've got a welfare reform plan to help people who are currently out of work for reasons of sickness. Not only can they not get NHS treatment, but there isn't a welfare system that supports them. We're going to change both of that by fixing NHS and introducing reforms to welfare. And we're going to reform skills and apprenticeships in this country so people can train to get a good, well-paid job. I list all of that because they are the ingredients to growing your economy.
Yeah, but
and if you grow your economy,
Ashworth,
the public
IFS,
finances are in a better place.
You've already said, so you're not going to levy any wealth taxes. You're going to stick to the taxes that you have said, the VAT on private school fees and getting rid of non-DOMs. But the IFS, the independent think tank, says they're going to have to be cuts to unprotected services, local councils, to our court system, to prisons. There could be a new mini-age of austerity. So if you're not going to levy any more taxes, are you going to have to make cuts to public services?
Well, I understand why the IFS are gloomy about the state of the public finances, given the absolutely awful inheritance a potential Labour government faces, given what the Tories have done to the public finances. But the IFS are often a snapshot, if you like, of where we are now. But if you get the economy growing, and we've got a detailed plan to create good, well-paid jobs across the country, we believe that transforms the position of the public finances.
That's right.
And the IFS aren't fully taking that into account.
The only thing I'm saying to you, Mr Ashworth, is that you, I think very correctly, as somebody who worked in the Treasury for a number of years, you used the word if. You said, if we can get the growth we need, then there will be no need for extra tax rises, if you get the changes to welfare through. The only thing I'm saying to you is you don't know that you'll be able to get the growth coming. It's been really hard to get growth coming. It's been down in countries all around the world. It's been much lower in Britain in the last 15 years than it was in the previous 15 years. So what I'm saying to you is it's not sensible to say, come what may, we're not going to have any rise in taxation, because you don't know what's going to happen. So Darren Jones, I thought, went a bit too far. Are you really agreeing with every word he said there?
No, but look, what I'm saying, though, is that on that point about growth, and thank you for reminding me of my work career history there, but the thing is this, isn't it? If we can meet the growth that even the last Labour government met, which is when I was working in the Treasury, the position of the public finances would be completely different to the position they are in today, which are shot to pieces, both because of paltry growth, debilitatingly chronic low growth over 14 years relative to what went before, and, of course, because of some of the disastrous decisions taken by the Conservatives and Liz Truss.
If you can do that, you're right. But you don't know you're going to do that.
But we have a plan.
Look,
we have a plan for it.
No, but our People's Panel don't want you to say things
that you can't
categorically when you're rightly saying, if you get the growth, you won't need it. You just don't know. It's better to be straight with people and say, we'll do our best.
But we've got a plan for growth. Let's take the National Health Service. We know that 7 million on a waiting list will probably rise to 10 million if we continue with the Conservatives on Thursday. Those huge waiting lists mean that well over 2 million people now are out of work, are on sickness benefits. Many of them, their livelihoods are gone. They cannot return to work. If you get people treatment quickly and on time, like used to happen when there was a Labour government, not only is that good for those individuals who don't have a life of pain and anxiety, it also means many can return to work. Fixing the National Health Service is not only good for individuals, it's also a good economic policy.
Jonathan Ashworth, can I just say, there may be a huge number of Labour voters who are questioning why you're not more positive about levying more taxes on those who can afford it, in order, for instance, to lift, in your description, the heinous two-child benefit cap.
Well, first of all, I mean, the tax burden is the highest it's been for, 7 decades under the Conservatives. And I think Rishi Sunak himself levied 26 different tax rises on working people. Look, people have really been clobbered. I mean, people are skinned because of the cost of living crisis that the Conservatives have given us. People are really struggling to get by. Now, I am absolutely committed to tackling child poverty. It's one of the reasons I'm in politics, and I was honoured to work for many years in the Treasury, as Ed reminded us, with Gordon Brown, who was such a great figure for taking on child poverty.
But you're not going to lift that cap.
But we will have a comprehensive child poverty strategy. We'll introduce things like free breakfast clubs at every primary school, so children start school with breakfast in their stomachs, not hungry. And of course, as you grow the economy as well, it means you can make decisions about the public services. But look, tackling child poverty will be a mission of the next Labour government,
but you're
just as it was a mission of the last.
To be clear.
Just as, well, we cannot make promises we cannot fund. That is the mistake that the Conservatives made.
Okay. All right. Jonathan Ashworth, thanks very much indeed. Quickly before you go, rumours that you might be appointed Foreign Secretary if Labour win? Yes or no?
What?
That the editor has whispered in my ear.
No, there is definitely not. Hiya, before I go, by the way.
Yeah?
I noticed Ed Balls on his podcast was saying that I would be great on a night out for karaoke. So let's get it in the diary, Ed.
Go on, then. Give us a bit of Frank Sinatra.
It's not Frank. You got it wrong, though. I do Leicester's greatest, Engelbert Humperdinck. You're getting confused.
Would you look like him?
Sing or we don't believe it. Please release me.
Come on, then, Jonathan. This is your moment.
To do the next interview.
This is it. Come on.
I'm not singing. My voice isn't ready for singing.
Oh,
we'll do it on a night out. We'll do it on a night out.
Our people's panel are
Don't promise
desperate.
what you can't deliver, Jonathan Ashworth.
Tell me when will you be mine?
Hey.
Tell me quando. There we go.
Good.
But you're not going to be Foreign Secretary, is that the fact?
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not going to be on the X Factor either. But...
OK. Jonathan Ashworth, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.